men after the first 15 minutes. As I said, extraordinary scenes, 18,000 in Newcastle, and this is arguably, Richard, the best team the A-League's ever put together, Sydney FC. Yep. Newcastle showed Ernie Merrick's men that they are beatable, and Andrew Naboot with a stunning strike here. The confidence and belief in a player is everything, isn't it? And that was great to watch.
Well, for two reasons, this is the antidote to all the gloom and doom in the A-League this year, because you've got a team, you know, a great team playing a smaller market team who are serving it up to them and, you know, creating real opposition. And it's just such a great rugby league. Sorry, you've got me on a roll there, Josh. It's a great football town.
I told you it dominates.
You've got such a great football town. Newcastle's produced great players, and it's a great environment there. So it is the antidote to everything, and the answer to the question about the A-League this year, I think.
Josh, what did you make of the red card? It came at about in the 13th minute. Roy O'Donovan for Newcastle was sent off. This is, I think the Oscars are on tomorrow, aren't they? It's an Oscar-winning performance from Geordie Bose. They went to the controversial VAR review, and this is not a good look. It's the second time in a week we've seen this in the A-League.
I love it. He's already clutching his head before it hits the ground. It's very well rehearsed, and, you know, maybe a bit of karma there. Graham Arnold can't help but crack a smile at it either. A bit of karma there for Sydney FC, and probably was maybe the worst thing that happened to them. Teams can get complacent when they're playing a man up, and they just lack a bit of crispness and finish there, Sydney FC.
Coaches love sort of results like that. It's a bullet in the gun, isn't it? Here we just, like, next time they play them, that's the footage, everything about that game will be there for them.
So another Sydney derby passed by this week. It was another significant fallout as well. The FFA has once again sanctioned the Wanderers with a suspended 3-point deduction after 2 flares were lit last weekend. Feels like we've been here before. That's because we have. 2 years ago, the Wanderers were threatened with the same penalty. Wasn't activated, though. What is it going to take to get through to these people that this type of behaviour is, it's not on?
Well, I think it's what they've done is probably fair, you know, cracking down hard.
Is it enough?
The problem is, though, I think it's enough. I think they've been more...
But the message isn't getting through, is it? I mean, this happens every year when they have the Sydney derby.
It's a massive dilemma, though, for the A-League in terms of the thing that sold it you go back 5 or 6 years ago, what sold it was, if you take friends along who hadn't really been to a lot of football, they loved the atmosphere as much as the game, and these people help create it. There's idiots among them, but it's not all of them. So it's the kind of this, how do we maintain this atmosphere, keep these people on board? I think the key to it are the clubs. I think at one level you've got the league here who are heavy-handed. They're very much image conscious, and they're pandering to certain sections of the media who aren't particularly interested in the game itself. Then you have the idiot fans down the other end who have loud voices on social media and so forth. I think the clubs are the key to engaging with their own supporters, because they're the ones who need to maintain them for membership. They need to also have the atmosphere that brings other people.
Are the idiot fans there for causing a bit of a ruckus, or are they actually there for the football to start with?
Don't judge them by the T-shirts they wear. They're there for causing a ruckus. And I think the gulf between the administration and the mainstream fans and these idiots is now too wide for any penalty to really make any sense to them. I think points, whatever, it just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, but points
carry on
hurt
with this.
the fans. They've done fines in the past. That doesn't hurt the fans, does it?
But I don't think it hurts
to see the team you love lose 3 points. And I get why some fans are frustrated with the media attention and that it is a bit out of whack. We see at the cricket mill, you know, you have drunks thrown out of Bay 13 all the time. Doesn't make front or back page news. But I feel like for the FFA, it's threats, threats, threats. It's like trying to educate a naughty toddler. You can continue to threat, but if you don't follow through it all, strip them of the points. If you want to stop this behaviour, you've got to do something different.
I agree, but it's not going to change because those people, as Mel pointed out, they have no... They don't care.
I don't think they care. I think they're there.
That's where it comes down. The clubs are engaged with these people, and they're self-interested in that they need them in some respects, the better elements of them, not the fools who muck it up for everyone. So that's where I think they need to be more empowered and they need to be more active in sorting this out themselves.
The Matildas' 8-match winning streak has come to an end at the hands of the host nation Portugal at the Algarve Cup. 4-3 winners over Norway, which was a thrilling match, Mel. It was last kick of the night. They've got such a great belief, this team, and then it was 0-0 against Portugal. They've got a game to come Tuesday morning against China.
Yeah, they certainly do. And wonderful that they've got an invite to this competition as well, because they haven't got that in recent years. And it just says that the stocks for the Matildas are rising globally. globally. There's a competition on at the moment, She Believes, which has the 4 major teams competing at the moment. Hopefully they then continue on to get an opportunity of playing that as well. But a shout out to Claire Polkinghorn as well, who went up to tick off 100 caps, the 6th player, I think, for Matildas to do so, reinventing herself. One of the beautiful things is, I think she's about 28 now. We're seeing female athletes get to that mark, and now because there's money and investment in the game, they can continue on in their best years. Often you usually see people retiring because they had to go to work. We're now seeing the very best of these athletes.
So, loaded question, Matildas or Australian women's cricket team? Best Australian female cricket sports team going around at the moment?
Performance-wise and their elevation, the Matildas at the moment. I'm not going to get on social media for the next hour.
I reckon the soccer fans are giving more grief than the cricket fans, though.
Let's continue with women's sport, because the new Women's Rugby Union competition starts next week, but there's some confusion about whether the women will actually be paid. Here's Rugby Australia's new Chief Executive, Raylene Castle.
Well, at this stage, they're not going to get paid? Or?
I don't think... I just need to finalise exactly where we are with those, but I do understand there's some, certainly at the Wallaroo level, there's payments which are agreed in the CBA, but we haven't got Super W payments.
Probably should be a little bit more prepared than that, knowing that question was going to come.
Most definitely. I think this is this catch-up moment in women's sport. So netball, cricket, AFLW to an extent sort of kick-started things. All of a sudden now a lot of the other sports are getting pressure, I think, from their sponsors more so than internally to get competitions up and running. So all of a sudden when things like that happen, you'll have... big people up there not knowing what's going on because they haven't driven it internally, and it's been pressure from outside to get a space for sponsors to put their branding on another concept in a sport.
That's embarrassing to not know that detail. That is so embarrassing, and it shows that they are being so reactionary, and the timing of this competition as well, to collide with the start of the Super Rugby season. It reminds me of almost what the AFL were doing with X and W.
Yeah.
It's eating itself. Doesn't make sense.
And the Waratahs were in Durban last night. They might have caught some of the cricket, Richard, but they're probably happy with the result. It was a draw, 24-all against the Sharks.
Yeah. Scrappy contest. It was one of those sort of, you get the late try, hit the conversion, take the point, go home and put it in the bank, and that'll be one of those points that are useful later in the season. I'm not sure the coach would be super happy with the actual performance itself, but they got a result in football terms. Disappointing, Kurtley Beale hurt his rib cartilage in the first half and he didn't come back after half-time, so that's a watch for them as well.
Yeah, and he hasn't had much luck, has he, lately with injury, so hopefully he's not too bad.